Hi everybody, this is Blossom. So, I hope you're all well. How are you? Tell me, I want to know. I hope you're really good. So today the chapter or the lesson, I prefer to call it a chapter, is about tools and what you may or may not need. So when I wrote this lesson a few months back, I really wanted to do that, but I didn't. I wrote my first sentences, you don't need anything, so we can skip this chapter. There we go. And I was thinking, shall I make a video like that as well or not? You don't need anything. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye. But yeah, we can talk a little bit about tools and what you may need or not. So when I talk about tools here now, I don't mean any divination tools. This will be a separate chapter and video, so no tools for scrying or like tarot or runes or whatever. We will talk about that at a later point. Yeah, so I really didn't want to make this lesson about you need a red candle and a black candle and a white candle and you need that kind of incense mix and you need that specific oil. That's really not what it's about. I just give you ideas and why we use it, because often tools are just boards and then some people sit there, what do I do with it now? Because, yeah, why? And I'm also one of those people who say don't buy anything, make it yourself. So this might not be the most popular opinions, and I think some may feel offended by that when I say skip all the shops who offer anything like that. Of course I cannot tell you what to buy and what not, but I think by making our tools ourselves, it is part of the craft. And yes, the fairy path I go, I would also say it's fairy craft. You know, it is part witchcraft, part fairy faith. So it goes together to make my own things. Many moons back, witches or fairy doctors or whatever didn't have the possibility and go and buy it, and everything you need you can find in nature. There we go. So, but let's talk about the different tools, and I think the most well-known and most used and most popular one is going to be the wand. And yeah, so definitely a tool that you can make yourself. I'm going to show you my wand here. You can see you can decorate it the way you want. You can carve symbols in it. You can put crystal on it if you want. You can put feathers on it. Do whatever you want with it. And a wand is an extension of our arm, an extension of our willpower, if you like. Often wands are used to cast a circle, for example. To be honest with you, I don't do that. I don't cast circles, very rarely. And I've made this wand myself just because I like doing I like to craft things, to create things, right? And I had to cut my willow a little bit back. If you know willows, they grow like crazy, so you do have to cut a little bit. It doesn't hurt them at all. Yeah, and so I just made that wand for myself. The only time I actually used it was when I do some kind of weaving spell, you know, when I weave a blessing in, or when I, you know, something of that nature. Then I use the wand, but I'm not very comfortable with a wand. When I do any kind of magic, I use my hands. I direct energy with my hands, and that's why I actually don't really need a wand. But you might be completely different, okay? I'm just giving, you know, my own experiences. I just share my own experiences or my own techniques. This is a technique. So this is not to say that what I do is right, because in the end nobody really knows what they are doing. So I'm very well aware of that, and I can admit that. So that is what wands are for. And then we can come to the fairy staff. I call it now the fairy staff. It's actually just a staff, but I call it the fairy staff, right? And I'm gonna show you mine here. And again, you can decorate it the way you want. I have little bells here to make it a bit more musical. And yeah, you can use it for the same purposes as the wand, but you can also use it. I was making that one, I was asking to find a piece like that, and then I found one. And because to take with on walking meditations, because the ringing bells go in the same rhythm over and over again, and then it helps you to enter a deeper meditative state, you know. So maybe this is something that you want to have as well, you know. And then we come already to the topic of asking to find it. So I personally wouldn't go and just cut it off just because I want a wand now, but I would ask the fairies to help me find it, to just tell the fairies in your meditation, in your journey, or whatever you do, and tell them, I want to find a special branch that I can transform into my magical wand to work with you, for example, or I want a staff, you know, same purposes, same reason. And you will find it. I guarantee that you will find it. They will show it to you. Also, if you want to cut off a branch of a tree because you want it still fresh and you want it from a specific tree, which can be tricky when you when you just find a branch, you don't necessarily know, you don't necessarily know from which tree it is. Always ask permission. So I know not everybody takes me seriously when I say that. I got a weird comment, you know, last month or something like that, where somebody was writing to me, I'm sitting here already for 2 weeks waiting for an answer and I think I might starve. I thought it was funny, but yes, I still believe you have to ask the tree spirits permission to get something, and also of respect of the fairies, you know, you please don't upset them by just cutting all willy-nilly. I also like to work with the moon phases when it comes to that, and during the new moon the juices are just going down into the roots, so you don't hurt the tree as much, it's not bleeding as much, so you might choose to cut then if you want to cut. So let's go from there to the different kind of woods you can use. I will have much more trees in the written text, so go ahead and check that out. And if you even want more trees, you can also check out my Ogham series, either here on YouTube, where I talk about the magical and the healing, magical uses and the healing properties, but I also have it on my homepage in as written text, as a text. I think I say that a lot. And you can just read about it. Might be faster than watching the videos. So there you can really get information. Both links I will put in the description box. For example, apple. Let's just go quick through it. You can use that for healing and beauty spells. It is also a good guide to the other world. It has, of course, a connection to Avalon, and it also has a connection to unicorn, so maybe that's something you want to bring in there, right? Then the willow, which my wand is, it's the moon energy, emotions. We have goddess energy, of course, in it, very feminine, but it's also very balanced in light and dark. It's also good for healing, and it gives you also a protection for journeying into the other world, which, you know, we will go into very soon. What else? The blackthorn, the blasting rod, right? So a very powerful tool in your hands, the blackthorn, right? And you can use it for curses and for blessings. Your choice. Hawthorn is then said to be the gentler sister and to be more for blessings. What else? Hazel. Divine inspiration. Bring me this divine inspiration for creativity. It can give you eloquence. Also good for divining purposes, as you saw in the lessons before. Then which one? The birch. Let's talk about the birch. Well, not so much to talk about. It's for new beginnings, sweeping out the old, bringing in the new. So that stuff you can, you know, think about what kind of wood you want to use if you want to use it. Now, let me sit a bit differently. Let's talk about other tools. You might want to choose a chalice for any kind of water magic you want to do. Water magic we often use for healing spells or cleansing. And then it is of course good to have a chalice like here. And you can really use any glass. So this is an old one from my grandma. She gave me that and it's really a bit cheesy, but I love it. I think it's a perfect chalice for fairy work. So I really do like it, and it's a little bit musical. And so you can use that. Water needs to get in somewhere. And then comes the question, when I say you can use any glass, can I put it back into the kitchen? I take a glass from the kitchen and then I use it for magical work, and when I don't use it for magical work, I put it back into the kitchen, for example. Of course you can do that. However, I prefer, and this is just my opinion, you do what you want. I always have to, you know, make sure you do what you want. I am not, you know, the one with the truth here. I prefer to have those things like glass. I could take any glass, of course I could. But I prefer to have something special just for my magical work. So that this is really a bit separated then. Even if I don't separate magic and mundane in normal life. But I like to separate the tools a little bit there. Same goes for knives, for example. Knives and athames. Well, in fairy work it's a bit tricky. We come to that as well. Iron is not really good for fairy work, so you might leave the knife out. Except you have, maybe you have, you know, a copper knife or even a wooden knife, which is just, you know, it's just about the act of cutting cords or whatever you want to do with a knife, right? That works, or a stone knife or anything like that. I was looking for a copper knife for a long time. Can't find one. You know, they are so incredible expensive sometimes. I don't know, maybe I'm looking at the wrong places, but so I don't use a knife really. So that's that. But you can, you know, a copper knife is nice to have to cut your herbs. Right, because it also said that, well, prefer to do that. If that is, you know, you have to decide those things for yourself. Then, stones. Sorry, always looking at my notes. So stones. I love stones. Sorry, I get too excited about stones now. And I'm not talking about crystals. I'm really not. Of course, so just so we are clear, you can use crystals. If you ask yourself which crystal would be good for fairy work, I would say always go with clear quartz. You can do nothing wrong with a clear quartz. But if you purchase crystals, please be sure that they are ethically mined. I think that's important, and online shopping makes that a bit, tricky. But when I talk about stones, I actually talk about the stones that you find on your path. You walk through the forest, you just see a stone and it calls to you, and you take it and you say, yeah, I hear you. So those are wonderful tools. You can program them. And if you don't know how that works, the internet is full of it, and it's very easy. You take it into your hand, you say, hey, I dedicate this stone to my fairy work, or I dedicate this stone to, to give me strength to stay relaxed, and, whatever you want, really, and then you program it. Also listen to the stone. It might have messages for you, it also will tell you for what it wants to be used. So that's a wonderful thing. Stones. You can take them from special places, right? From, this is a lot of fairy activity. I take a stone, here's sacred space. Just don't, be mindful. Don't go to Stonehenge and, trying to take a piece of stone. I hopefully don't have to tell you that, but experience show that's what people do, so don't do that. Then hagstones. Hagstones are very important in fairy lore. So here you can see two of mine. And it is said when you look through, you can see into fairy. So you can also, if you have the luck to find one, it took me many, many years to find one. And then I found 3 at the same time at the beach. Mostly you find them at the beach, but they can also be found at streams and rivers. I think sorry. So they can also be found there. And then if you want to protect your house, you just take a red thread and hang it over your door. Or you can also meditate, a journey into fairy with it by just imagining it, how you go through the hole. You become tiny, and you just go through. So that's a possibility, right? So that's something wonderful. I love stones. Actually, you just need a stone. Everybody can find a stone. Then music, we talked about that. Drums and singing bowls and a didgeridoo. And drums definitely help to create an altered mind. A state of mind, sorry. And it helps journeying. So, but if you don't have anybody who drums for you, you might just go back to recordings. But music is something wonderful. Fairies love music. So maybe you even play an instrument, which would be wonderful for the fairies. So that is a tool you could use. You don't have to, of course. And then candles. So here you see a few of my candles. And you can make them yourself. It's quite easy. You just, you melt the bee wax, the bee wax, or others I have with soy wax. And I just put then some dried herbs in it, sometimes a little bit of essential oils, depending on what I want. And so you can create your own magical candles very easily. It's really no biggie. It's very easy to make, and you can, if you create a special candle for the fairy, for example, then you can also leave that as an offering, right? And then other tools. So you could a tool that I would really recommend you to have is herbs, and flowers. If you work with the Fae, have tools that grow, that live, and that you can you know, you can nurture together with the Fae. That would be such a wonderful idea. If you have a garden, start your own herb garden, buy flowers that are fairy friendly, and I see the video is getting way too long, so go to my homepage. I list a whole thing of different flowers and plants that you can look at to that are very attractive to fairies. So, and then it would really be something I would, buy some pots. If you don't have a garden, just buy some pots. Have one herb. If you say, I don't have a green thumb and I can't do that, have one herb, have one pot, have a bit of good soil, and that doesn't have to be expensive at all. And then you ask the help from the help from the fairies to help you to grow this plant and to keep it healthy. Then you dry your herbs, and the good thing about nurturing or growing your own herbs is that you have full control if pesticides are used or not. So if you buy herbs and you don't know if pesticides were used, and if so, fairies hate it. And so if you grow it on your own, you have full control over that, and you also have full control about when to harvest the herbs, right? When you work, as I do, with the moon, you can wait for the right moon phase to harvest them and to plant the seeds and to water them and whatever, you have full control, and it will be such a powerful tool for you later. You can make candles with it, you can make magical oils with it, you can make incense mixes with it. It's just wonderful to have it if you do it yourself. And like I said, you can try it with one if you really are afraid. And if you're used to it, and if you do it already, that's great. I love it. And then also in the written lesson, we also go into how you can bless your tools. So let's say you have your wand, right? You made your wand all pretty, all with pretty symbols, all nice. And you want to bless it and consecrate it. So you can, again, in the written lesson, I have to talk faster, and I can't do it because as soon as I try, I stumble immensely over my words. Sorry, that's because I still translate sometimes in my head. So blessings of your tools. So you call upon the elements. You can do it under moonlight. You can do it at a very special place, fairy place. You can go to the water, depending on what you want to bless, put it into water, refresh it. And we will see more about that in the written lesson. Okay, so for some this might not have been very interesting because they have already all the tools, but for those who are just starting out, I also wanted to include them and to make this course complete. So I hope you enjoyed, and that still it was a little helpful, even if you have it already. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Much love and many blessings, and bye!